Rather lads, welcome back to the Cossy podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. We're live at 9. Sorry for that bit of delay, around 6 minutes late, but we are live and we're going to be talking about the Arsenal striker priority that is increasingly Alexander Isak. Arsenal could be looking to break 100 million once again. I mean, we are at this moment, at this rate, it looks like we're going to be signing a 100 million pound player every single summer. Alexander Isak is Mikel Arteta's priority. We're going to be diving into the stories. And of course, someone I say talk about Victor Osimhen is on the thumbnail, and that means we'll talk about Victor Osimhen as well. But obviously, Mikel Arteta as well today has been talking about the injury scare on Tomiyasu and Saka. And he has said we have a few doubts before we go into the live training tomorrow on Saturday, but those should be cleared out tomorrow. So I'll give you a little update on Bukayo Saka and Tomiyasu. And also Fabrizio Romano today has confirmed that one of the key targets that Arsenal are looking at this summer is the 19-year-old player at Ajax, that is João Hato, and he says Arsenal keep monitoring Ajax young centre-back João Hato as one of the best talents in European football in his position at the moment. He's already been scouted for Arsenal and for months, and Arsenal keep an eye on him and they continue to follow him as well. He signed a new deal, but Arsenal remain interested and they think something could happen. Good evening to you. Welcome back to the show. Always live at 9. Make sure you always check out the content. 3 videos almost on every single day. Exactly 11 a.m., 4 p.m., and also live at 9 p.m. Where are you watching from? How was your day? Talk to me in the comment box below. And of course, what do you think about Alexander Isak being the priority for us? I know how much you guys love Victor Gyökeres, and I'm not going to lie. Fabrizio says that Arsenal have scouted Victor Gyökeres and is one of the players that we are actually very interested in. But the priority is up there. The priority is a guy that we've looked at for quite some time, and that is, Alexander Isak. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Do you think we can get him? Do you like him? Do you prefer Isak to Victor Osimhen? Because Osimhen is one that has been making some few rounds in the media, waiting for a Premier League move, with DiMaggio confirming that Arsenal and Chelsea are the 2 clubs that could actually sign Victor Osimhen this summer. And so he's waiting for that opportunity. Do you think Arsenal are going to go in there and splash 100 million on your African boy, Victor Osimhen? I tell you, this Arsenal side, apart from Partey, we don't have so many vibrant Africans in that team. So getting in your Victor Osimhen could add something to the African collection. Obviously, my problem with Africans is that at times you have that January transfer spell, that not transfer spell, but that January AFCON spell that takes Africans away from the team, and then you struggle as a team. Salah has been a problem for Liverpool, and so has been Sadio Mane. And you can see in their recruitment, Liverpool are trying to walk away from the African players, and especially in vital positions. So you look at Luis Diaz, you look at Cody Gakpo, Darwin Nunes. The many clubs understand the significance of the January transfer window, and also that January period, especially that is the time when you're making that kind of U-turn. You're playing the second leg, you're starting the second leg of all the fixtures, and then you have players going out for AFCON. So that is one of the problems that African players have. But talk to me about Osimhen and talk to me about Alexander Isak. 2 players we could sign for 100 million, but Alexander Isak obviously is the priority. Right, let's start off the show by answering some of the questions that I've been having on the availability of Saka and Tomiyasu. Mikel Arteta today has held his press conference. I will do a press conference reaction tomorrow, so that will be that should be coming out tomorrow, probably earlier on in the day. I'll make sure that I find a way of doing that press conference reaction. Mikel has been talking about the availability of Tomiyasu and Saka against Manchester United, and he has said we have a few doubts that could be resolved tomorrow because we have another training session, so we will have to wait and see. There are doubts over the names that you have discussed, that is Tomiyasu and Saka. Now, I'm not going to lie. If you have seen my reporting throughout the week, I've not been concerned with Saka and I've not been concerned with Tomiyasu because I didn't think there was a problem. I didn't think that Arsenal had a problem when it came to the availability of those 2. However, with Tomiyasu, there was something later reported in the media, a couple of days ago, that he was nursing some small injury, and then those reports were rebuffed quickly, and it was confirmed that he was not actually nursing an injury. Arsenal was just trying to manage his minutes and also trying to manage his situation. But also then, if you're trying to manage a player's situation, it means that he's either under threat of picking up an injury, or he has an injury that you actually don't want to escalate. I just don't like it when we go into the Manchester United game. Always, there is an issue, and Tomiyasu is going to be a key player in that game. But of course, without Tomiyasu, could we see Jeren Timber? I've said it in my predicted 11 that if Tomiyasu cannot make it to the team, if Tomiyasu is not available, there are two options I would love to see. I would love to see Timber first, but of course, it's a high intensity game. It's a difficult game, difficult fixture. The rivalry between Arsenal and Manchester United is going to manifest in that game. So the other option is Alexander Zichenko. So those are the two options I would definitely go for if Tomiyasu is still unavailable as per Mikel Arteta. There is something small with Tomiyasu, and there are questions to be discussed and there are discussions to be held over those two players, Tomiyasu and Saka. Now, when it comes to Saka, you rarely see him substituted in games. Like, he's one of those players that even when Arsenal win 9-0, even when Arsenal win 10-0, he's one of the players that don't even think about coming off. Against Brentford, he actually took him off. And that is not a scare. He brought on Gabriel Jesus. It's not a scare for me, but it's kind of a worry, because if a player is not substituted, if a player is not taken off, and then at some point in time, the manager, voluntarily, by the way, decides to take him off, then that means that there is something there. And now, this Friday, we're hearing that there is something, and Mikel Arteta says that we are going to have another training session for us to assess the availability of those two. I think the big one is Saka, because Saka is irreplaceable. As you go to the Old Trafford, you want to go full house, you want to go full strength, but then you also want to be at your best. You want to have your best players playing at their best. I think Saka will play against Man United, whether he's fit or unfit. I mean, there is a question to be asked. How many games has Saka played at his top level in terms of fitness? How many games has he played while we can say he's 90% fit or even 80% fit? Very few games this campaign. I think he's struggled with a lot of injuries. I think the fact that we didn't get in a backup has really cost him a lot. He's played a lot of minutes. He's given us a lot of goal contributions, which is a result of minutes, but then also he's had spells where he's not been productive, and that is because he's played a lot of games, he's tired, and then he's picked up some injuries as well. But Mikel says there is a discussion to be had when it comes to those two. I hope it's not something big. I hope it's something that we can actually resolve. Okay, so let me know if Saka can't play. Who would you rather play in his position? And if Tomiyasu cannot play, who would you rather play in his position as well? Because it's quite an interesting update from the manager. I mean, I expected everyone to be fit, but at least Tomiyasu and Saka's availability is being doubted. Is it mind games? I mean, we have seen a couple of mind games this season from a couple of managers, and for Arsenal, I think it was it Saka still when Mikel Arteta said Saka was a doubt, but then he eventually featured in that game. So we have seen a couple of mind games. We have seen one with Gabriel Magalhaes during the Brazil national team where he withdrew. Saka also withdrew from the England national team, but ever since both of them withdrew from international duty, they played every single game for Arsenal. So maybe there is something there. Maybe there is not. Maybe it is a mind game. I don't know, right? I don't know. I want you to know your thoughts and opinions right in the comment box below. Okay, Ivan says Jesus for Saka if Saka is not going to make it. Emma says Osimhen over Isak. Christopher says Osimhen is better. Hussein says we want Isak. Osimhen is better according to TM Gist in the comment box below. Christopher says Cossy. Hope you're doing well. Christopher. Emma says, I don't like Isak. I wish we get Gyökeres or Osimhen. Okay. Dalton says, hi, Cossy. And then Sebastiano says, love from Uganda. Hope you're doing very well. King Dal says, I feel Osimhen would go to Chelsea, but I will take Osimhen over Isak. Oh, I love where this is going. By the way, Ivan Banda says live from Malawi. Big up to you, Ivan Banda. And then Tarema says good news. Here. Shadrach says hello, Kosi, much love from Malawi. Big up to you, Shadrach. Love you, my people from Malawi. And then Duncan says good work, but talk about Osimhen's African Cup because he was not good during that tournament. Big up to Stanley in the comment box below who says I prefer Osimhen to Isak, and also Ivan who says keep up the good job you're doing. I'll definitely keep it up. Now, Fabrizio is one of the big journalists out there. And I'm going to tell you this. Fabrizio is a big fan of Victor Gyökeres. Like, he's a really big fan of Victor Gyökeres. In one of the interviews Fabrizio did with Code Offside, he was asked about the Arsenal situation and his opinion about it. And he said he would rather go with a number 9, like a traditional number 9, a clinical number 9. And in his own words, he referenced Victor Gyökeres. That also gave us, a big update on the Victor Gyökeres situation, where Fabrizio says that Arsenal, have been scouting him for every single month of this year, and probably every single month after the last transfer window. We've been looking at Victor Gyökeres, and maybe he's a player that is on the list. Now, reports have actually downplayed that. Reports indicate that the big target and the massive priority at Arsenal is a 100 million pound striker who is rated by Newcastle, and that is Alexander Isak. So talk to me in the comments there. Isak, 100 million, we've talked about his price tag, but he is the priority. And I can see that most of you are actually bending towards Osimhen rather than Alexander Isak. I want to know what you see in Isak that makes you uncomfortable about an Alexander Isak deal. I really, really want to know, because there's so many clubs out there that are crazy about Isak. There's so many fans out there from other rival fans that are really crazy about Victor Osimhen. Sorry, about Alexander Isak. So I want to know what really pushes you away from the Isak deal. Do you think he's too expensive? Do you think he's actually not good enough? Now, 2 years ago, the Arsenal sporting director Edu was talking about, Arsenal creating a new culture and creating a new team. And he said it takes time. We are going to reach a time where Arsenal are going to be signing one 100 million pound player every single summer. And that is going to be at the peak of our powers. And when I saw that comment then, that was in 2020, 2021, when I saw that comment, I was really disgusted at the time, because I thought Ed was trying to sell to us a lie. I thought he was trying to, make up for his mistakes and trying to sell us, a bad lie. I think we have reached that point where Edu deserves an apology from me on this channel. And I'm going to say, Edu, I'm sorry, I was wrong. You are right. I didn't see the idea. It was there. The idea of Arsenal working on this squad to a level where we sign one 100 million pound player, one star player per summer, we have reached there. Last season, it was Declan Rice. Now, you can think about Jalen Timber. You can think about Kai Havertz. You can think about David Raya. But if Arsenal had signed Kai Havertz, Jalen Timber, and David Raya, no one would have said that is a superb window. No one would have said that is a mega statement of ambition from Arsenal. But what we saw is Arsenal going ahead to spend 105 million pounds on Declan Rice, and therefore we broke our transfer record, which was at it was at 77 for Pepe. I think it was around 77 million euros for Pepe. So we broke that transfer record, and we set a new one last summer, where it was Declan Rice. And this summer, Arsenal are big on a striker, right? Very big. Obviously, there are reports that Kai Havertz could be a big factor in that, but I don't think that is going to change. According to Romano, Arsenal's plan is not changing. Arsenal's plan is to go out there and get a number 9, clinical number 9, big center forward, big number 9. So Isak being the priority points to one thing. The Arsenal are willing to spend over 80, 90, 100 million on a center forward. And it could not be Isak, because Newcastle could refuse to sell. Isak might decide to stay. Man City could swoop in and try to sign him. Chelsea could swoop in and try to sign him. But the key message for me is that Arsenal are willing to go to the length of signing a striker for 80 million and above. And for me, if you're willing to splash 80 million on and above on a striker, I think we're going to get our hands on a good one. I think Osimhen is in that range. I think Lautaro Martinez, who, Inter Milan are saying we are not selling, he's going to stay. You don't have that evidence. Lautaro Martinez is in that range. Isak, obviously, is in that range. Which other striker would I sign for 100 million? Solanke, no. Solanke, no. Watkins, no. I think all of those are below 80 million. Victor Yokeres, however much I don't trust his end product when it comes to being a 100 million pound striker, right? He's done it at Sporting Lisbon, but that is not enough data. That is not enough evidence for us to suggest that he can do it at the topmost level. So with Victor Yokeres, I can say still 80 and above. I mean, I don't think you get him for anything like less than 80 million. So Arsenal are willing to splash 80 million and above, or even 100 million, we could say, on a striker. Is that the topmost we can do? I think it is, right? I don't think there is a position that Arsenal should be splashing 100 million plus, or Arsenal are going to be splashing 100 million plus in this summer. Now, for me, I would love to see Yo Rodrigo. I would love to see us sign Rafael. But all those wingers are going to cost 100 million plus, right? Are Arsenal going to sign a winger for 100 million plus when they have already seen that Eliando Trossard for 27 million can get you 11 goals and a couple of assists? I don't think that's going to happen. When they have seen that Gabriel Martinelli from Ituano can be your top scorer last season, I don't think Arsenal going to splash out 100 million, 90 million, 80 million on a winger. But I think we're going to do it for a striker. And if you're going to do it, we better as well be very intentional and very systematic. So Isak, obviously, he's 100 million. Newcastle saying you don't have 100 million, you better talk to us about Bruno Guimaraes. Because for Isak, we are not budging. But there is a scenario where Newcastle do not get a buyer for Guimaraes. Yes, he's available. Yes, clubs want him. Today, I've been looking at a story early this morning that, there could be a possibility where PSG pull out of the Bruno Guimaraes deal. I mean, I look at PSG. There's Vitinha in that midfield, who I really read as a midfielder, by the way. And I'm like, do they have Vitinha? And they're going to add Bruno G? Are they going to add Bruno G to Vitinha in that midfield? I'm not convinced about that. And then you have the likes of, Zai Emery as part of the midfield. They have the likes of, Fabian Luiz as well. I don't think Bruno Guimaraes is a top transfer priority for PSG. So it will depend. If Arsenal are willing to go out there and splash 80 million on Bruno G or 70 million on Bruno G, then there's a high likelihood that he joins Arsenal. But if we get a better option as well, and we have options, Zubimendi is there, Yusuf Fofana is there, Joe Palhinha, by the way. Guys, when no one talks about Joe Palhinha, Joe Palhinha is there. He's available. I mean, he's 29, 28, 29. His age is questionable, but he's available. He's there. So if Arsenal don't sign Bruno J and PSG don't sign Bruno G as well, and City and Madrid are not interested as well, and Man United don't get their Ineos money to sign Bruno Guimaraes, then Newcastle might need to sell Alexander Isak. And that is where they're going to have to listen to offers below 100 million. That is where they're going to have to listen to offers below 90 million. For me, like I've said, I don't think he goes below 75, Alexander Isak, but I don't think he goes above 90. So if Arsenal are willing to splash around 80 to 90 million on Alexander Isak, not going to lie, I think it's going to be very difficult for Newcastle to turn down such money. It's going to be very difficult for them to turn down such a deal. And of course, they know that you sell Isak, you can get Solanke, you can get maybe not Watkins, but you can get Jonathan David. You can get, there's so many striker options they can get, but then that can also help them with FFP. If they can make something like a 30 million pound profit on the sale of Alexander Isak, that is something that can benefit them as a club. So Isak is big on the Arsenal transfer list. He's actually up there with the likes of Osimhen, with the likes of Gyökeres. Now, when it comes to Victor Osimhen, I don't know where to start. right? Because most of you love him, and I'm shocked and I'm surprised because I thought, your thoughts were on Yokeres and Alexander Isak. Where do we start with Osimhen? Is the interest real? That is the question that we start with. Now, Fabrizio made it very clear that in January, right, Arsenal were big on Osimhen, and so were Chelsea. Actually, he said that in the summer, there are going to be two clubs that are going to be battling it out for the signature of your boy, Victor Osimhen, and those two clubs were going to be Arsenal and Chelsea. There is interest from Saudi Arabia. There is interest from France, but he doesn't want to consider those options. And Gianluca Di Marzio this week has come out and said he doesn't want to go to PSG. He doesn't want to go to France. He's been there. He's not excited about playing in France again at the moment. Playing for PSG would offer him Champions League football, but he knows he can get UCL. He can also get, EPL when he joins a Chelsea or an Arsenal. So PSG, I'm sorry, the brand of football in France is not attractive. We've told you all along that your football is not attractive, and you guys have never have said, the Premier League is overhyped, which I think is overhyped, by the way. But he doesn't want to go to France. He doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia. Arsenal and Chelsea are the two options. Does he go to Chelsea? Does he go to Arsenal? Let's discuss. Now, someone has told me to talk about Osimhen of the African Cup of Nations. Missed a couple of chances, ghosted for Nigeria in key games, and he ghosted in many of the games. A bigger part of that tournament, Victor Osimhen ghosted. Right now, that doesn't make him a bad striker. That doesn't, having one bad tournament doesn't write you off. Like Cristiano Ronaldo is not your big World Cup performer, but that doesn't take away the would have been got, status from him. We've seen a couple of players as well ghost in tournaments, right? Tournament football is very different from club football, but of course, the Champions League is a tournament. Is a tournament. Competition. So he's got to perform better. But for me, what I've seen with Victor Osimhen, I'm going to defend him during the for his time during the AFCON, and I'm also going to slate him during that time. I think he's a quality striker. I think he's a quality number 9. I think Victor Osimhen has given us enough data, enough statistics, enough reasons for us to trust him. But you cannot come to the African Cup of Nations. You are the star player, for Christ's sake. You are the star player. You are the guy that your country is looking at. You are the guy, if you turn up, your country wins it. If you turn up, right, your country gives you, your country gets that medal. It gets, Nigeria had more talent than anyone. They had the bigger talent than anyone. And Osimhen could not afford to ghost. Osimhen could not afford to, not perform. He didn't perform. He didn't perform. Honestly, he didn't perform. I'm not even going to lie, guys. He didn't perform. So you look at his games in the African Cup of Nations. 7 games, 1 goal, 1 assist. I'm sorry, as an African, you cannot give us such a performance, right? And of course, that will have affected his, market value a little bit. But listen to Victor Osimhen's statistics at Napoli. His first game or season, played 24 games, scored, scored 10 goals, assisted 3 times. So that is the first campaign, 2020-2021. Pretty much decent return. 13 goal involvements in 24 games. In 2021-2022, second campaign, he scored 14 goals and assisted twice. We're going to talk about his assists because they're very low. In 27 games. Again, progressive, and the numbers are becoming better. In the 2022-23 campaign, which was last season, he played 32 games. Mind you, that is the campaign where he's played 30 plus games in the league for Napoli, and he absolutely ripped the league apart. 26 goals, 4 assists. This guy had 30 goal involvements in 32 games. Who does that? Like, you're not Messi, man. You're not Ronaldo. How dare you challenge the establishment, right? 26 goals and 4 assists in 32 games. Those numbers are wild, wild. And no wonder Napoli won the league. And maybe this is the point that Arsenal are looking at. And they're saying, look at Napoli. Napoli win the league with Osimhen. Sporting Lisbon win the league with Victor Gyökeres. Um, Man City are on the road to win the 2 back-to-back trophies, Premier League trophies, ever since the arrival of Erling Haaland. And last season, Erling Haaland, by the way, yes, we were competing against Man City, but we're also competing against, a force to reckon with in Erling Haaland. So maybe Arsenal are looking at it in this way, and they're saying maybe if we invest 100 million in a proven goal scorer, our problems will be solved. Because for me, if you add up the points we have dropped at the Emirates Stadium, if you add up the points in games where we have failed to finish our chances, we are clear top. We are clear. Favorites, right? Fulham, uh, you win those games, both of them, and then you beat West Ham at home. West Ham, we created like a million chances at the Emirates Stadium in that game. Aston Villa, we created a million chances at the Emirates Stadium in that game. Newcastle, at the St. James Park, a million chances. So those 3 games, 9 points, right? We dropped 9 points in those games, right? So if Arsenal get an extra 9 points by scoring more than the opponents in those fixtures, we win the games and we win the league. So that's what Arsenal are looking at. Now, for me, the focus should be Osimhen, not Alexander Isak. I know why Mikel Arteta wants Isak, because Isak is a multifaceted player, very multidimensional, and he's got that ability to drift in and out of positions and allow other players to walk into these positions, more like a fluid system. Mikel Arteta loves a fluid system. Look at Trossard. You'll find him into that Bukayo Saka space. Then you'll find him into that number 9 space because Kai Havertz has drifted a little bit into the number 10, and Odegaard has dropped deep into the number 8, and Rice has become, a left back. It's more of a fluid system. Osimhen, I'm sorry, and I said we'll talk about his assists. Osimhen is not your fluid player. Now, the question is, do we go for an Isak who suits the way we play better, or do we go for an Osimhen who in the last 3 seasons has showed you, I will score 15 plus, and if I get a team like Arsenal that are serious about creating serious chances, I could even score more goals. So do we go for an Alexander Isak who is, like Gabriel Jesus plus goals, or do we go for a Victor Osimhen who is less like Gabriel Jesus and more like Edin Ketia, but an Edin Ketia with guaranteed goals? Before you say Osimhen, are you still happy to see a work rate that is selfless? Because that is Alexander Isak. Works a lot, he's selfless, good on the ball as well. If you love to see that, if you love to see dynamism in attack, it's Isak you're looking for. It is not Gyökeres, it is not Osimhen, it is Isak. But for you, if you're looking for just a clinical finisher, a guy that is going to pound balls into the back of the net, headers, we're going to compare Isak and Osimhen. But if you're looking for a guy that can score for you headers, every type of goal, right? His ball control in the penalty area, fabulous Victor Osimhen. If you're looking for goals and clinical finishing, it's Victor Osimhen you're actually, looking at. So for me, the budget is there. It's about how we spend it. And I'm not even in doubt that Mikel Arteta is going to make the best decision when it comes to who comes in, who do we sign as our number 9. But I think he's going to lean towards more of an Alexander Isak. He's got the pace, he's got the talent, he's handsome as well. I mean, look at that Arsenal team. Guys are handsome. Could be a reason to sign them. I'm kidding. But I think with Isak, the Premier League proven role and advantage is going to be a massive one, like really, really a massive one. Like just look at the players we have signed over the last 3 years. How many have we got from the Premier League? Rice, Premier League. That was 100 million. So Mikel Arteta would prefer to get his 100 million pound signing from a league where he knows that this guy has proven. Ben White, 50 million. Again, a 50 million pound signing that has been proven in the Premier League. Raya, Premier League, a 27 million goalkeeper that has proven to be a top player in the Premier League. Kai Havertz, Premier League. I don't know whether you're trying to see what I'm trying to drive at. Mikel Arteta loves Premier League players. He loves Premier League players, and I think this is a mistake that we made under Arsene Wenger and Unai Emery a lot. Unai Emery asks for Wilfred Zaha, a guy that had proven at at Crystal Palace in the Premier League, and somehow Arsenal go out to sign a more expensive guy at Lille that was just a breakout star. It's like us splashing 70 million on Garnacho right now. Wouldn't be bad, but it is not really prudent enough. So Isak's Premier League proven status is an advantage, right? If we're looking at who comes in, like objectively, who is Mikel Arteta going to prefer? It's gonna be Alexander Isak. He's been in the Premier League, and this season he has had a glamorous campaign. Now, the problem with both of them, and what I don't actually understand with Victor Osimhen, is Victor Osimhen has played one season where he surpassed 30 games. What is going on? Like, okay, let's say at Lille Metropole, he played one season, 27 games. Okay, at Charleroi, 25 games. At Wolfsburg, 12 games. So I'm not understanding these mini campaigns of Victor Osimhen. Honestly, of course, with Isak, we know he's got his problems when it comes to injuries, right? 27 games this campaign, 22 games last campaign. At Real Sociedad, he played a little bit more consistent. He had a 37-game campaign, he had a 34-game campaign, and he had a 32-game campaign. So at Real Sociedad, he was a little bit more consistent. But with Osimhen, I don't get it. Is he always injured, or does he have his own problems? Obviously, we know the problems with him and his club. There was a TikTok fiasco saga between Napoli and Osimhen. One that Osimhen didn't take well, one that Osimhen didn't like, and it escalated the problem, and that's why he's leaving this summer. He's a sure deal to be leaving this summer. Obviously, not to Arsenal, but loves the Premier League, open to joining Arsenal. Chelsea are in there as well waiting. So we will see what happens, right? Guys, hit the like button. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. It really means the world to me when you guys are on the stream and you are engaging. Okay, let's see what these people are saying. All right, because most of you are Victor Osimhen fans. I hope it's not because you guys are African, right? And talk to me what you think about signing an African player who is not available in January. Does that give you a reason for Arsenal not to sign a player? Okay, Osimhen is the solution, says Ashavin Maitha, says Osimhen is the solution. Morgan Roots says Cossy for sure. Osimhen can be a 25 goal scorer in this Arsenal jersey. Yeah, okay. Listen, I don't doubt Victor Osimhen. Actually, in terms of who I trust more, I trust Victor Osimhen more than I trust your Alexander Isak. Because with Alexander Isak, I'm not going to lie, with Alexander Isak, where is the evidence? Right? Where is the evidence? Yes, you can do it, but where is the evidence? With Osimhen, the evidence is there. Of course, Alexander Isak this season, but we have seen Dominic Calvert-Lewin have a very good campaign, have a very good season with Everton, and that was the last good campaign he has had. The guy is scoring 1 or 2 goals, right? And he's being injured all the time. So we need the evidence. And I think with Isak, we get that piece of evidence. So thank you so much. Sorry, with Osimhen. Someone says, we may go with Isak than Victor, but guys, we need a man good in the air too. Aerial prowess. Nice. That's a very good point. Thank you so much. I love you. Now, when it comes to aerial prowess, Osimhen is a king in the air. You can call him a Boeing 77. You can call him, the outdated, outdated Concorde. He is quality in the air. With Isak, in the air, what is that one thing that you know that can fly? Like I don't know. I don't want to attack countries here, but I think he is as dead in the air as some of the airlines on this continent, honestly, with Alexander Isak. Now, can he develop his game in terms of, trying to be a little bit more active in the air and more aggressive? Yes. But him and Victor Gyökeres, if we were to compare them to Osimhen, and we are looking for a perfect striker, the aerial ability would actually kill the campaign for Osimhen, for Isak, and also for Victor Gyökeres. They're not good in the air at all. I don't want to even hear it. I'm not even having it. They're not good in the air at any point in time, anywhere. So when you say we need a guy who is very good in the air, we already have Kai Havertz. I think Osimhen then becomes the guy. But then I was talking to Glenn, I think it was yesterday, but one. And then we were discussing about Victor Gyökeres' ability in the air and Isak's ability in the air. And he was telling me that even if they're not very good in the air, you would take them because you have other players that can actually give you that aerial prowess. The thing with a striker is that your striker should be able to score all kinds of goals because that ball is going to be played in his area, in his territory all the time. Just think about this. Look at Erling Haaland scoring 4 goals against Wolves. How many goals did he score with his left foot? Patrick. How many goals did he score with his right foot? 0. How many goals did he score with his header? 1. And we're talking about an Erling Haaland who rarely uses his head to score sensational headers, to score sensational goals. But I think your striker must be complete. Your striker must be able to give you every kind of goal, unless they're Kun Aguero, unless they're Lautaro Martinez. With Lautaro Martinez, he can bang in 30 goals without one single header. So if they're your Lautaro Martinez, your Kun Aguero, short but wonderful finishers, they are going to bury almost every chance they get, bring them in. But if you're looking at a striker who needs 3 chances to bury one, and by the way, that's not a bad striker. Like 3 chances, scores 1, that's not a bad striker. But if that is your striker, that is a normal striker. That is a normal 25 goal, campaign striker, right? Let him be good in the air. Let him be good with his feet. It's all I'm asking for. Thank you so much for that point. It really, really reminds me of what I wanted to say as well. I just skipped my mind. Okay. Say what you people are saying. Anu says, Cossy, the only problem I have with Osimhen is he will go to African Cup of Nations. A league can be our won or lost within 1 month. 1 month of absence during the national, during the AFCON. Are we going to talk about this, guys? Are we going to talk about it, or aren't we? Should we close one eye and say Osimhen to Arsenal? Boom, we love him. Or should we talk about the African Cup of Nations thing? Now, I'm gonna say that the AFCON has definitely cost Liverpool a title chase against Man City in 1 or 2 seasons. Like, just think about having Salah go out there and, for a whole month, playing 7 games. In that 1 month, right? In that 1 month, Salah playing 7 games, or Mane playing 7 games. It really did hurt Liverpool. And maybe Liverpool didn't see it coming because they signed Mane. By that time, Mane was one of the best Premier League players at Southampton. You never had a chance to turn him down. And then they brought in Salah, who the manager Jurgen Klopp had looked at and he had thought he's a quality player. We need to bring him in. But if you bring in Osimhen, imagine he's on fire, scoring almost every single game. December comes, and in January he has got to go, and then he has to come back around 15th of February, and then he's got to use at least 1 or 2 weeks to rest, or he picks up an injury during that AFCON. It would be frustrating. It would really, really be frustrating for us to struggle. Yet our striker is out there, banging in goals maybe for Nigeria. And I think already De Laurentiis talked about it. he talked about it and he said, I don't want to sign African players again because in January, they're out there playing football for someone else. You've spent 95 million pounds on him and he's out there in January playing football for someone else. That's why I don't want to sign, African, players anymore. That was already De Laurentiis, the CEO at Napoli. So there's a point there. Yeah, there's a point there, but I don't think we can just scrap African players. But you can see that the top teams are having starting 11s and they're having mega squads that are excluding African players. At Arsenal, you have Raya, White, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Rice, Jorginho, Odegaard, Kai Havertz, Saka, and Martinelli and Trossard and Jesus, right? Vieira and Emil Smith Rowe. All those players, starters in the first squad, and there's no African. The only African player you can consider is Thomas Partey. Then think about Man City. Which African player, leaves Man City in January and they are shaking? Rodri is their most important player. He's nowhere near African, apart from the fact that Spain shares a border with some African countries. Not right about that. I'm not sure about that. Um, then Kevin De Bruyne, definitely not. Then you look at their backline: Nathan Ake, Josko Givardio, Stones, Diaz, and Walker. No, and their goalkeeper is not African. You look at Liverpool, it's Salah. Apart from Salah, right? Konate is not African, is French. The goalkeeper is Brazilian, and the attacker Darwin Núñez is Uruguayan. And in midfield, they have McAllister, Soboslai, and Wataru Endo. Of course, Endo could travel to Japan in January, when there is the Asian Cup. But Wataru Endo is not the glue that binds Liverpool together. They will get a glue. They will get, they will eventually sign the glue that binds the club together, right? So if you think about all that, again, you've got to say African players, are being undermarketed by our own association. Why don't we have the African Cup of Nations in the summer? Honestly, it's our competition. Why don't we have this African Cup of Nations at the end of the campaign, like the Euros, like the World Cup, like these other competitions that are happening? It would give us more coverage. It is during that time that clubs are scouting and they're looking at players for the summer, and maybe players could put in a good shift, and we could see an increase in African players moving over to Europe. We might see a change in African players being signed by big European players and clubs, because they know, you're not going to miss your African player in January. You raise a good point, but Africa needs to think about it. Christopher says, "Thank you, Cossy. Thank you so much for the appreciation." Samuel says, "Victor can give you all you need from a striker." Thank you, Samuel. And it says Africa should try to shift African Cup of Nations to the summer. Thank you. Michael says, Victor Osimhen is the guy. I'm really surprised at the comment section, guys. Someone says Africa needs to change their program if they want to promote African players in Europe. I mean, it's something that they should have looked at. I wonder how they've not looked at it at this point in time. Okay. Someone says, even me, I trust Victor Osimhen than Isak, because Isak is not a scaring man to the opponent. Is this true? Is it true that Alexander Isak lacks the threat a player would pose to the opponent? Is it true? Good evening to you, my man Anu. Hope you're doing well. Michael says, "Good evening." Good evening. Someone says, "We may go with Victor, okay, because because he's good in the air too." Okay, I can kind of see where you guys are leaning to. I hope we actually did a poll, at the beginning of this video. Duncan says, "Why do Osimhen over his face with a mask?" Why does Osimhen play with the face mask? Well, I've tried to find out before even he came to Napoli, because I thought it was something, just for just. But I'm told, right, according to the sources I've looked at, it looks like it is something for his, protection. So I hope it is, truly for his protection. I really, really hope so. Nelson says Victor Gyökeres has not proved enough. Unlike Osimhen, therefore I prefer the Nigerian guy. Someone says, look, man, played better than Victor Osimhen. Yeah, in that January Nigerian, Afcon period, didn't really feel my Osimhen boy. Osimhen is not EPL striker. That is Clifford. I mean, what defines an EPL striker? What are the parameters that we judge who is EPL and who is not EPL? Because look at Dominic Solanke, like 17 plus goals. Is he an EPL striker? I don't know. Has he scored those goals in the Premier League? Definitely he has, right? So if you tell me that in a league where Benteke has played, where Romelu Lukaku has done some numbers at Everton, where players like Darwin Nunes are playing, and he's saying either Isak or Osimhen, or one of them is not an EPL striker, I will not buy into that, especially Osimhen. I think he can do a job. He's done it, at the topmost level as they were winning the league. Okay, Nemungu says, I appreciate Ateta and his boys for the good work they've done, and what they've done this season. Even though we may never know, we can win the league at the end of the 2 remaining games. Okay, Augustine says the money is too much for Isak. Instead, buy Victor Osimhen with that money. Sharif says, I think Isak is more prolific, intensity, and being lethal in front of goal. Now, who is worth 100 million? Is it Isak? Is it Osimhen? The one debate we have to put out of the way is the market is the way it is, and it is not going back. I mean, guys, I'm telling you the truth. The market is the way it is, and it's not going back. You're not going to have your top strikers these days going for 40 million. If you want a 40 million striker, I have in my house, I have developed technology that can travel, back in time. So I will give you my time machine, time travel technology. You will travel back to the Arsene Wenger prime days, and there you will find your 40 million strikers. And we are talking about quality strikers: Fernando Torres, Kun Aguero, those quality. 40 to 50 to 60 million, you will get those strikers. But in this escalated, spoiled market where Kylian Mbappe is, given, a lot of money and the same role as a sporting director at a club, which was ridiculous, by the way, you're not going to get Isak, Osimhen, Gyökeres at 40, 50 million. So that is out. Now, 100 million is still big. But is 100 million really still big? Let's look at the players that have been signed for 80 to 100 million and evaluate their quality and see whether 100 million is still something to be afraid of. Rice, in this day and age, he's worth it. Pogba, never worth it. For me, never worth it. He never lived to his expectation. By the time Man United signed him, you could argue that the market was already spoiled. But for me, Paul Pogba, under normal circumstances, 60 to 65 million pounds would have done a good job, right? But never worth it. Romelu Lukaku, never worth it. Nicola Pepe, never worth it. Never, ever, ever worth it. Neymar is a bit of a debate. Was he worth 200 million? No, I don't think we have seen a 200 million pound player on this planet. Like Pele, maybe. I didn't see Pele, but I would have bought him for 90 million. Cristiano Ronaldo, 80 million, like Madrid did. Messi, 120 million, maybe, or maybe 100 million, or maybe 95 million. I don't think we have seen a 200 million pound player on this planet. So when you think about all these useless scumbags that have spent a lot of money on useless players, on players that have not hit the expectations, everyone is saying, hey, Coutinho didn't work, but I have a Martin Odegaard. How about you give me 150 million, right? Or Ousmane Dembele didn't work, but I have a Declan Rice, right? How about you give me 105 million? He's the next Frank Lampard. He's the next, Gerrard. He's the next, Patrick Vieira. So because the market has been, driven out of control, I don't, expect teams to spend low amounts. And I think that's what FFP and PSR are trying to, as guidelines. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make sure that clubs spend reasonable amounts of money on reasonable talent. That Odegaard goes for 30 million. Therefore, Fabio Vieira, who is a breakout star, should be 12 million or 17 million. I'm sorry. It should be 12 million or 17 million, right? Edin Ketia this summer is going to be going for 40 million. Like, bro, Edin Ketia could move to a club this summer at the same amount of money that Fernando Torres moved to Liverpool. In which world is Edin Ketia costing the same as Fernando Torres? In which world? So who's worth 100 million between Isak and Osimhen? Isak was bought for 63. So he's developed into a Premier League striker, one that Newcastle can rely on. So I think 80 to 90 million is well deserving, right? In terms of them polishing him, in terms of them nurturing him, in terms of them putting him onto the big European stage. 80 to 90 million. Osimhen, on the other hand, I want to know how much Osimhen went for from Lille to Napoli, because at first it was $95 million, right? So I want to know. Let me just let me look at transfer market. They'll give me this transfer market. They'll give me this. Okay. So from Charleroi to Lille, he moved for 22 million, and from Lille to Napoli, he moved for 77 million. But this is what is actually funny. When he moved to Napoli, his market value was 40 million euros. And Napoli spent 77 million euros on Victor Osimhen at that time. That was in 2020, September the 1st. So that means that right now, 90 million is not even an option for Napoli. It's going to be 100 million. So if we are going to go, if I'm going to be honest, they spent more, right? They spent more, Napoli, and they have created a monster in Victor Osimhen. They have nurtured him into a man. They've nurtured him into, a big number 9. So I think I would go for Osimhen being worth 100 million. But also in terms of, that one season where he won the league for them, that one season where he actually, did magic for them. He did things for them. I think he can replicate such a season at Arsenal. I'm not going to say that is every single season this guy is going to be scoring 25 plus. But I think in a season where Arsenal win the league, we will actually see my boy, Victor Osimhen, or your boy, actually, Victor Osimhen, scoring 25 plus. I don't have a doubt on that. I'm really, really sure. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hit the like button for me as well. It really helps out with the algorithm and helps me to create for you content for free on the internet. Anu says, for me, both Osimhen and Isak are not up to 100 million, but in today's market, it's more porous and overhyped. Thank you so much. You've driven the point home. That is my point. None of them should be going for hundreds of millions. But when you ask yourself the honest question, right? When you ask yourself the honest question, is there any club that is going to give you their player, right? A player that is important to them for less than, 100? No. No club is actually going to do that. No club. Okay. But thank you, Anu. Brilliant point. Someone says, Cossy, once we fail to sign Victor Osimhen, let us go for Victor Gyökeres because because of his pace, sorry, I think you meant pace, and counter attack, and chances. He's a good striker. Does convert. I'd rather go for you, Cossy, for 100 million, not for Pogba. Thank you so much, Shedrick. I don't know if I had some good, bowling skills. But the people that have seen me play say that I was a very good goalkeeper. So you never know. Our boy says thank you for voicing my worries and concerns. Thank you so much, Charlie Boys, as well in the comment box below. Now, guys, as we wrap up this one, Fabrizio Romano has actually come out and said that Arsenal are actually very, very big on Gerald Hato. Now, the youngster has actually signed a new deal at Ajax in January, but there is still a big possibility that Arsenal will try to sign him this summer. And Jarell Hato is one of the players top of the defensive list. Do Arsenal need a defender? Again, for me, guys, you've been on this channel. We've been a little bit consistent now, so you know my opinions and thoughts on a new defender. I kind of feel like it's not the priority. But Gerald Hato is 18 years of age, and Arsenal believe that he's one of the players, one of the centre backs that are playing beyond his age. At 18, 19, we're looking at the next William Saliba. Okay, not the next William Saliba because Saliba is still young, but we could be looking at the next Virgil van Dijk. We could be looking at the next, Nemanja Vidic. We could be looking at the next, what else? Maldini? I'm not sure. But you understand my point, right? You understand my point. So Fabrizio says that Arsenal will look at a centre back, but Jarell Hato is on top of that list. If Arsenal don't get him, that is where they could look at elsewhere. And I think what Arsenal want with Jarell Hato is we want to cash in on that good relationship we have with Ajax. But then also when you compare Jarell Hato to Osman Diamonde, the one that has not been very exposed has been Jorah Hato, and therefore that means that you can get him at a cheaper price. You see my reasoning there. At a cheaper price than Osman Diamonde. Honestly, I think Diamonde is like a top level centre back now. Still a teenager, but really top level. I won't be surprised if a manager like Anslot brings him at Liverpool, or Newcastle bring him in, or Man United bring him in, and then he plays every single game for them next campaign. I won't be surprised. But like I always say, young centre backs are always susceptible to making mistakes. They're always prone to those mistakes. Do Arsenal need a young centre back at the moment? Maybe for cover, right? But we also need a left back and a right back cover. Can Gerard Hatter do that? Maybe that is what Mikel Arteta sees in him that we actually do not see. A call says, "Hi, Cossy. I followed Victor Gyökeres for quite some time. Um, he's so good. I believe he can improve under Mikel Arteta in terms of area finishing, and he can also be a competitor for Haaland." Darlington says if Arsenal was going for a defender, Gerald Hato is a very, very good signing and a very good option. So listen, guys. Lucky to have a community like you, lucky to have people like you. I hope you have smashed the like button. If you have not, I'm going to give you 10 seconds just to smash that like button. If you've not, use these 10 seconds to smash the like button. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 1. And thank you so much for joining me this evening. I like talking to you. I like engaging with you because you're one of the best communities on on the internet. I don't think I could do this without you guys. We built this together, and I promise to always show up. Good night. See you soon.